Hello, and welcome to the Delivering an Effective Technical Sales Presentation SC Plus course for the Symantec Web Gateway version 5. My name is Kevin Kingston, and I work on Symantec's Messaging and Web Technical Field Enablement team. This training provides technical audiences best practices and tips for the Symantec Web Gateway. Upon completion of this course, you will be better prepared to deliver your own customer-facing technical sales presentations. Today we're going to discuss the Web Gateway product background, some of the methods to deploy the Web Gateway. We're going to talk about how the Web Gateway offers protection to our customers, and then we'll talk about how to administer the Web Gateway. By the end of this training, you should be able to discuss the Symantec Web Gateway version 5 from a technical point of view and focus on key points to influence a sale, plus provide a brief product architecture overview. You should be able to delineate where the Symantec Web Gateway technical strengths has an advantage over competitive solutions. You should be able to describe next-generation technologies and identify both the advantages and the pitfalls. You should be able to summarize how the Symantec Web Gateway version 5 integrates with other Symantec products. You should be able to speak to your customer's specific needs by drawing out relative pain points or goals. And you should know where to look for additional information and next steps. Okay, so now let's get started. When delivering a technical presentation to the customer, the first thing I'll normally do is give the customer a bit of background on the product. Some customers may be aware that Symantec had left the web security market for a few-year period, and by going over this slide, we can help give customers the feeling that this isn't all new technology. The Symantec Web Gateway is actually based on technology developed by a company called MI5 Networks, which was founded in 2004. They delivered their first product to the market in late 2006, and were then acquired by Symantec in April 2009. Version 4.5 of the Symantec Web Gateway was released in August 2009, and version 5, which we are discussing now, was released in the second quarter of 2010. Over the next few slides, I'd then like to give a customer an overview of the current web threat landscape. The following threat trends were observed in the Message Lab's intelligence report from September 2010. These statistics demonstrate that the volume of web-borne threats continues to be significant and currently one of the primary sources of infection. The first statistic tells us that of all the malicious domains Symantec was aware of, 33.6% of them were new in September. In the second statistic, we can see that 28% of the web-based malware we are aware of was new in September. And in the final statistic, we can see that 80% of the malicious websites we are aware of were actually compromised legitimate sites. So this is just a good slide to show to our customers to let them know proactive, up-to-the-minute intelligence is needed to combat these threats, and the customers need more than single-point products to prevent these threats from entering the network. The next slide demonstrates a few scenarios showing how an end user might become infected. The obvious scenario being possibly our less educated users who could potentially be clicking in links in email messages from senders they might not be aware of, or people visiting some high-risk sites, such as those offering free downloads. The second scenario, which is less obvious, is where a user may click a link from a known good site, which may contain a link to a bad site. The most common situation here is where advertising may have been purchased and site owners may not have been able to perform the due diligence to make sure a reputable company has purchased the ad space. Finally, we've got our third and scarier scenario where a trusted site has actually been compromised and infected with some kind of malware. This slide gives an overview on the evolution of web security products over the years. If you take a look on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see the first generation web security products, which initially started out by blocking or allowing access to sites based on the type of the content on the site or based on the reputation of an IP address. In the middle you can see the second generation products, which over time evolved to add more functionality which would allow to scan files being transferred with web applications, or even by blocking or allowing access to certain types of web applications. And finally, on the right hand side of the slide, we see the third generation web security products, which have evolved even further, with smarter technologies being used to identify infected clients and botnets inside the network. The key thing we want to get across to our customers in this slide is that these older generation products just can't do enough to provide complete protection on the network. Okay, we're now going to start looking at the Web Gateway deployment options and the features and functionality offered by the Web Gateway. There are actually 4 ways we can deploy the Web Gateway. On this slide we can see the first 2 methods of deployment. On the left we can see the port span or tap deployment. In this type of deployment, the Web Gateway uses a network tap or a span port and a switch to get a copy of all the network traffic passing through the core switch in the network. In terms of protection, it's the least effective way the Web Gateway can be deployed, but it's probably also the easiest method to deploy the Web Gateway, and can be a great deployment method if looking to do an evaluation of the Web Gateway. The big pitfall with the Web Gateway when deployed in port span tap mode is that the AV engine in the Web Gateway isn't able to block malware files that are being uploaded or downloaded through the Web Gateway. The second method to deploy the Web Gateway is in inline mode. When deployed inline, the Web Gateway sits in a critical part of the network, normally between the core switch in the network and the internet firewall or gateway. When deployed in this manner, this forces the network traffic that is heading inbound or outbound to pass through the Web Gateway on the way to its destination. An inline deployment provides a very good level of threat protection. However, the Web Gateway won't have the ability to decrypt Hdbs traffic. You won't have the ability to integrate with Symantec DLP products when deployed inline. And redundancy and failover can be challenging when deploying this method. The third deployment option is deploying the Web Gateway as a proxy. As an explicit proxy, client machines can be directed to have the Web Gateway proxy their HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, and SOX traffic. When deploying the Web Gateway as a proxy, HTTPS decryption, as well as integration with Symantec DLP products, is possible. Configuring failover and redundancy is also easier when deploying in this method. Some of the pitfalls when deploying as a proxy is that the Web Gateway will only see the traffic which is being proxied in the environment. This means some of the application control functionality cannot be used, and the infected client and botnet detection modules might not be as effective. The fourth Web Gateway deployment method is to deploy the Web Gateway in Inline Plus proxy mode. When deploying in this mode, the Web Gateway is positioned in that same critical part of the network as a typical inline installation, but a proxy can be enabled as well, so that features only available in proxy mode can also be available in the Inline Plus proxy mode. It's for this reason that the Inline Plus proxy mode is probably the most effective way the Web Gateway can be deployed. In terms of the value proposition offered by the Web Gateway, there are several key themes demonstrating strengths we should focus on when trying to sell the Web Gateway. Probably the main focus of the Web Gateway product is providing stronger core security than a lot of our competitor products. This is provided by the 6 layers of protection used by the Web Gateway to keep malware off your client machines. And also by the bidirectional scanning the Web Gateway does. So not just protecting on downloads, but also looking at the outbound behavior of the clients in the network as well. The second theme we're going to talk about is the advanced threat detection. Here we're referencing our compromised endpoint or infected client detection, and also the botnet detection modules in the Web Gateway. These modules are real differentiators when compared to our competitors. The third theme is our architectural advantage. We provide numerous methods to deploy the product, with some of our deployment models being extremely focused on performance. The Web Gateway also has that ability to look at all ports and protocols, so that we're not just isolated to provide protection over certain ports and protocols. This next slide is a slide that I'll show to all customers, and it really demonstrates the defense in depth offered by the web gateway. So on the right hand side of the slide you can see our client machine, and on the left hand side of the slide you can see our malicious web server. And we have our user who's actually trying to go out and go to this bad website, www.malware.com. And then we can see the malware domain and IPs list in the web gateway actually blocks our access to this site. So in our second scenario, our user is trying to access this site, www.naughty.com, which isn't necessarily a malicious website, but it's actually a site that our administrators have blocked access to this type of site. For example, the administrator may have blocked access to pornography sites. So in this example, it's actually the URL filtering module that does the blocking. In our next scenario, you can see our client machine's trying to go to www.malware.com, and he's trying to download a file called bad.pdf. Now in this example, the web gateway doesn't actually know that www.malware.com is actually a bad site, but as the end user tries to download the file, you can see the malware content scanning module, or the AV scanning module, actually blocks the file from being downloaded by the client machine. In our next example, we can see our client machine is using an instant messaging client to communicate with another machine outside of the network. And in this case, we're using the application control module to block these instant messaging clients. In the next example, we've got a client machine that appears to be doing some kind of phone home where data from the client machine is being uploaded to some internet Dropbox. Fortunately, this activity has triggered an infected client signature, and the web gateway blocks this traffic from getting out of the network. And in our last example, we can see our client machine is exhibiting botnet behavior by trying to contact multiple command and control servers Symantec is aware of. Luckily, our Botnet protection module kicks in and starts to block this bot activity from getting out of the network. So that gives an overview of most of the modules in the Symantec Web Gateway in action. So like I say, it's really a slide I love to show to customers and walk them through those different scenarios. One new module in the Web Gateway version 5, missing from the last slide, is our new file-based reputation module called Insight. If enabled, this module can enforce policy that will only allow users to download portable executable files that are known by Symantec to have a good reputation. Now we're going to dive deeper into the Web Gateway version 5 protection, and this really demonstrates the technical strengths of the product. This slide starts to dive deeper into those multiple layers of malware protection offered by the Web Gateway. So in terms of blocking our users from accessing bad sites, Symantec Web Gateway blocks users from accessing bad domains and bad IP addresses that Symantec is aware of based on data gathered from our global intelligence network. If the URL filtering module is enabled, there are also some malware and phishing categories that we can block access to. The next layer of our malware protection is the malware content scanning, or effectively the scanning of files being uploaded or downloaded with our Symantec antivirus engine. And finally, the last layer of malware protection is our detection of compromised endpoints. So again, this is the network fingerprinting the Web Gateway uses to detect those infected clients on the network, and then also the behavioral technology the Web Gateway uses to identify those infected botnets in the network. We use the next slide to give our customers a better idea on what the AV engine in the Web Gateway can scan for viruses. So we can scan native HTTP, whether it's someone physically trying to download a file via a web browser, or if it's a program in the background trying to download a file via HTTP. For FTP, we can scan native FTP and FTP that's tunneling over HTTP. The Web Gateway version 5 introduced the functionality that does give the ability to scan HTTPS uploads and downloads, but this does require the Web Gateways deployed in Proxy mode and also that SSL deep inspection has been enabled. The Web Gateway also controls the instant messaging download channel, and if instant messaging file transfers have been allowed, they'll be scanned. With the set of instant messaging clients supported, the Web Gateway can scan both native instant messaging clients or web-based instant messaging clients that tunnel over port 80. One thing the Web Gateway isn't able to do is to scan files that are uploaded or downloaded via peer-to-peer clients. If that's a concern for an administrator, peer-to-peer applications should be blocked using the application control functionality. So we've mentioned the infected client detection numerous times now, and we've talked about how this feature is a big competitive differentiator for us, and this slide starts to go into a bit more detail on the module. When client machines get infected, they often have some kind of call home component which tries to connect back to the internet. Symantec has created signatures based on these call home components so that the Web Gateway can detect these infected clients on the network and also stop these machines from phoning home somewhere on the internet. The Web Gateway has the ability to monitor what machines on the internal network are infected, what they are doing, and block that activity if desired. So how it works. Normally a user machine gets infected with malware, and this is usually without their consent. In the event this is some kind of keylogger or Trojan, there's often a call home component following a particular pattern. Symantec has then created network fingerprints based on these patterns, which enables the Web Gateway to help detect these infections and block that call home component. Symantec takes a lot of care when writing these fingerprints to make sure we don't cause false positives. As we've already mentioned, this is a differentiator for us. Very few vendors have this ability, and the few that claim to don't do it very well. A similar differentiating module is our botnet detection module, which is a bit more behavioral based in the way it works. If the Symantec Web Gateway starts to see any type of botnet-related behavior from a client machine on the network, it will start to more closely monitor that machine. If further bot-type behaviors are seen, the Web Gateway will identify a client machine as an infected bot and start to block this botnet traffic from leaving the network. Botnet behavior can be quite hard to detect. The Web Gateway detects patterns of typical bot traffic, watching for command and control communication, things like connections to IRC servers, IP scans, and trying to send SMTP. When internal machines start showing some symptoms of bot traffic, they are determined to be suspect, and a closer eye is kept on these machines. If we see more bot-related traffic while monitoring suspect systems, at that point the combination of symptoms will allow the Web Gateway to determine the machine is a bot, and will start blocking the bot-related traffic. Typically, a bot will go dormant after sending their payload for a period of time. When this happens, the bot is marked as inactive, but if we start seeing bot-related behavior from that device again, we don't need to go through the same suspect period again, and the machine will automatically be tagged again as an active bot and will start to block the bot-related traffic. The next module we're going to look at is the application control module, which can be used to block, monitor, or allow access to over 100 applications and protocols supported by the Web Gateway. The Web Gateway uses special signatures to identify these applications and protocols. These signatures are not port reliant, so the Web Gateway can still detect types of traffic, even when traveling over non-standard ports. Effectively, what the application control module does is give our administrators the power to create rules and write policies for client machine access to the internet that isn't HTTP based. In terms of the applications supported, there's a bunch of instant messaging applications, peer-to-peer applications, database applications, remote access applications, and for protocols, we've got some file transfer protocols, some network protocols, and many others. In your policies, you can configure to block, monitor, or allow entire categories. For example, you could write your policy to block all instant messaging clients that are supported by the Web Gateway. Or you could create policies to block or allow specific applications. For example, I could allow the Yahoo instant messaging client, but block all of the other supported instant messaging clients. When it comes to the supported list of instant messaging clients, with application control, we can configure the web gateway so that no file transfers are allowed. If you do allow file transfers to happen in your policy, then as mentioned earlier, these files transferred are scanned by the AV engine. The next thing we're going to look at is the URL filtering module. The URL filtering add-on gives administrators the ability to monitor, allow, or block access to over 100 million sites organized within 62 different categories. This slide shows an example of two of those categories and some of the subcategories that exist below it. One thing to remember here is that the URL filtering is an add-on. It doesn't come with the base Web Gateway license, so that's just something important you'll want to remember. This slide shows us the after-hours configuration settings that can be applied to the URL filtering policies. This allows us to take different actions outside of normal working hours. As you can see in the graphic in this slide, the customer is configuring less restrictive URL filtering policies for times outside of normal working hours. This next slide shows us the block page an end user would actually see if they attempted to access a site their administrator had blocked access to using the URL add-on. It's probably worth mentioning that the logo and text seen on this screen can be customized. We're now going to look at some of the next generation technologies and new features in the Web Gateway version 5. One of the key new features is the addition of Symantec's new file reputation engine we touched on earlier, which is called Insight. The Insight reputation module leverages the anonymous usage patterns of over 75 million users to compute reputation scores for every executable file on the planet. Symantec is currently tracking over 1.5 billion unique executable files, and we can assign a file reputation score without ever having seen a file. Symantec Insight technology uses context to focus on the most important advantage of cybercriminals and turn it against them. Cybercriminals employ rapid mutation technology to prevent security solutions from identifying the signatures of their code. The Insight technology finds newly mutated programs and rates their level of risk based on how new and common the program is, as well as its source and other security metrics. The Web Gateway can be configured so that if a file doesn't have good enough reputation, the file can be blocked from being downloaded. The next new technology we'll look at is the ability to decrypt Hdbs traffic with the Web Gateway. If running the Web Gateway in Proxy mode, you have the ability to enable the SSL deep inspection, which will allow to scan files uploaded or downloaded via HTTPS for malware. If a data loss prevention version 11 environment exists, customers can also have DLP policies inspecting outbound HTTPS traffic for sensitive content. For performance purposes, customers can also selectively choose the types of secure sites where they want to scan SSL content. For example, they can choose to decrypt webmail traffic, but not banking or healthcare traffic. And again, just to call out once more, that if you do want to do HTTPS decryption, this does require a proxy deployment. In terms of integrating the Web Gateway with other Symantec products, this slide has a diagram demonstrating how the Web Gateway integrates with the Data Loss Prevention Network Prevent for Web version 11 product. This product integration will help protect outbound data loss via HTTP and HTTPS post and put requests. It's extremely important to remember that the HTTP and HTTPS traffic needs to be proxied through the Web Gateway for the scanning to occur successfully. HTTPS traffic will also require that deep inspection is enabled. When all is up and running, an ICAP connection is the interface used for the two products to communicate. We're now going to take a closer look at the administration and reporting features available in the Web Gateway. This slide demonstrates the dashboard view seen when logging into the Web Gateway UI. At the top of the default page, we get a view as to the current system status and whether the appliance is up to date. Below this status bar, we see the Executive Summary Report, where administrators will also be able to view current statistical and threat information regarding web traffic in the environment from a single page. On the bottom left, you can see the most popular types of websites being accessed, and in the bottom right, we can see whether there are any current active infected clients in our environment. Administrators have the flexibility to create different web filtering policies for different groups within the organization. When creating different group policies, a key step is to identify the users or machines to whom the policy applies. Administrators have the ability to create group policies based on subnet, IP range, or numerous attributes if integrated with Windows Active Directory. For example, if integrated with Active Directory, users who belong to an IT organizational unit may be given access to a broader set of URLs and applications than users belonging to, say, an accounting organizational unit may be allowed. Templates can also be created to help serve as a starting point or baseline when creating new group policies. The Web Gateway includes a full set of reporting options that helps customers gain insight into the performance of their web security deployment, identify potential attacks, and track web application use. With the Executive Dashboard and rich set of executive summaries and other preset reports, customers can quickly identify issues and report to other stakeholders on the health of their web environment. There is a flexible reporting workflow for customizing reports. Reports can be exported and scheduled for automatic recurring report generation. All administration of the Web Gateway is done through a secure web user interface. This console is separated into three main areas. There's a reporting area where reports are configured, scheduled, and viewed. There's a policy area where all policy information is configured and stored. And there's a configuration area where all other system settings are configured and stored. In environments where we have multiple web gateways scanning web traffic, one device can be nominated as a central intelligence. This device can then be used to centrally manage policy and reporting data from the other web gateway devices in the environment. So that pretty much covers all of the product features and functionality. We're now going to talk about finding out what the customer is really looking for and how to use this information to help you get ready for your presentation. Probably the most important thing you want to do is make sure you are prepared. Find out as much as you can about the customer's current environment. Do they have an existing web solution? If so, then what? What are they looking to change? What is the current architecture? For example, do they currently have a proxy? Is the architecture likely to change? For example, do they want to get rid of the proxy? Or do they like the architecture as is? Try to find out any other environmental details you can, such as how many users are in the environment? How many sites does the customer have? Does each site have an independent link to the internet? Find out what the customer's current challenges and pain points are in terms of their current web product or web protection in general. By getting as much detail as possible, you can probably start guessing as to which type of deployment and architecture best suits the customer, and you can tailor your presentation based on what you find out. So now just a few key tips for selling. In terms of who we want to sell to, I recommend focusing on customers who already have a Symantec product that belongs to a bundle. Showing them the extra protection they can get and the money they can save by cross-grading to one of the suites can be extremely compelling. Another great method to sell the Web Gateway and other Symantec security products is to use the Web Gateway to perform a malicious activity assessment. These engagements have proven to be very successful at showing our customers the value of the Web Gateway and other Symantec products. To be successful at selling the product, it's extremely important to try to do some hands-on testing and practicing with the product. By playing around and testing with the product, you get yourself in a position where you're much more comfortable with the product and you'll have a good idea on which features are available when working with the different deployment modes. In terms of some resources to keep yourself up to speed, for internal Symantec, make sure to check out the Messaging and Web SimIQ site. You'll find lots of great documentation in the document repository, and there will be announcements announcing any new materials that are created. Also, if you have any technical questions, use the Web Gateway forum on SimIQ. For partners, the Web Gateway product page and support site on Symantec.com contain a lot of good documentation. For any technical questions, use the Symantec Connect forums. And now just a few closing words of advice. Allow the technical conversation to flow in the direction of customers' goals and needs. Be aware of limitations within a particular environment and work towards a comprehensive solution. Use pertinent background information, including additional technology, customer success stories, and product history to broaden the conversation. Focus the technical presentation on your customer's specific environment and avoid an overly general approach.